Timothy, guard what's been entrusted to your care. When we're speaking to someone, when do we mostly use their name? Isn't it when we want to get their attention? Certainly, if there are others in the room and you begin to talk, chances are that no one's listening. But if you have something to say to Julia, for example, you want her to be listening to you and not hearing your voice in the background, but paying no attention. Sometimes, even if there is only one person in the room, you'll say their name because you want her to take their attention away from what they're doing. Watching TV, reading a book, playing a game on their tablet, and instead you want them to focus on what you have to say. We do it to get someone's attention. The name Timothy appears in this letter only 3 times. In the greeting, in 1:18, when Paul says, I'm giving you this command in keeping with the prophecies once made about you, and here as he's wrapping up the letter. Let's connect to these bookends. 1:18, Timothy, my son, I'm giving you this command in keeping with the prophecies once made about you, so that by recalling them you might fight the battle well, holding on to a faith and a good conscience. What is this command? Quite simply, it's the rest of the letter. Everything from 1:18 to 6:21. It's everything from instructions on worship, qualifications for overseers, elders, and deacons, the treatment of widows, elders, and slaves, and dealing with false teachers, all the way to the love of money with lots of extra details and sidebars thrown in. It's about maintaining a close walk with God and with people, living out the Great Commission and the Great Commandment. It's about the fact that this is a great spiritual war, so fight the battle well. And the bookend? Timothy, guard what has been entrusted to your care. Timothy, I want you to especially pay attention to what I am saying right now, because this is going to be wrapping up my entire message to you. You are now a steward of my words, Paul says. Protect them. You are the security guard who's been given the responsibility of keeping the gold safe. And this is gold. My message to you is precious. Remember that it doesn't just come from me. It comes from God himself. Respect it, love it, obey it, guard it. I'll never forget the day in elementary school when I was qualified to become a crossing guard or safety patrol. Perhaps you stood at a corner near your school with some kind of a stop sign in your hand, watching the traffic and your schoolmates and taking responsibility for getting them safely from one side of the street to the other. The tradition continues in the Routley family. When our grandson Coltrane, who was 10 years old at the time, Coltrane took his responsibility seriously. You know as well as I do, that's not just about making sure no one gets hit at the intersection. It's about getting your fellow students safely to school and safely back home at the end of the day. When I played football in high school, I played a couple of different positions, offensive guard and middle linebacker. As a lineman, I had 2 jobs: protect the quarterback and clear the path for the running backs. Either I stopped those who would tackle those I was protecting, or I was trying to remove the obstacles that were preventing us from scoring. Even on offense, one stance is offensive, helping our team advance the ball, and one is defensive, protecting our backfield. When I was on defense as a linebacker, again, I had 2 jobs: stop the running plays and break up the passing plays. On occasion, I'd be called upon to blitz the quarterback, watch for an opening created by our defense, and run into the backfield to disrupt their plans for their offense. Do you see how this applies to Timothy? Your job is to score touchdowns and win the game. The opposition will try to stop you, and they will use every trick in the book. Guard the football while doing everything you can to advance your team down the field. Guard these teachings while doing everything you can to advance the kingdom throughout the world. Beyond Valor, a World War II story of extraordinary heroism, tells the story of a 23-year-old Henry Red Irwin, an airman on board an American B-29 bomber headed toward Japan with the mission of destroying a major factory. As the lead bomber in a fleet, Irwin had the responsibility of dropping tracers out of the bottom of a plane, the last one being a phosphorus bomb. After dropping the tracers, they positioned the phosphorus one, pulled the pin to start a 6-second delay, but there was no delay, and it exploded into a ball of 1,000-degree heat instantly while still in his hands. He was blinded, on fire, and yet still managed to push it out of the hatch. If he had not been successful, it would have burned a hole in the floor, dropped into the bomb bay, and set off a series of explosions which not only would have killed his crew, but could have taken out every plane and every crew in the fleet. Miraculously, Irwin survived, and so did hundreds of others. An incredible story of faithfully guarding the mission, even at great personal cost. He said, "It's not a choice, really, not a conscious one at least. You don't have the time to make a decision. You just do it. You love the men beside you. You'll do anything to save them. Whatever the cost, fulfill the mission, Timothy. And you and me, guard what's been entrusted to you. The kingdom is counting on you."